WCTC. Call Jersey Central at 732-545-9282. Toll free at 888-545-9282. Watch Jersey Central live online at WCTCAM.com or listen on your smartphone with the iHeartRadio or TuneIn apps. Connect with WCTC on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube by searching 1450 WCTC. And now back to Jersey's Morning Show. Jersey Central with Bert Barron.
Well, the Forge Jewelers Omega time is 7:37. Forge Jewelers, the official jeweler of 1450 WCTC. Hello there. It is Bert. Thank you for starting your day with Jersey Central here on WCTC. We'll do our contest coming up in just a bit. Chance to win family 4-pack of tickets to Six Flags Hurricane Harbor. Stick around for that. Want to get to the Jersey Central Newsmaker hotline. My special guest has an op-ed piece that was just published today. If you had a chance to check out the Star Ledger from this morning. An excellent, excellent write-up that I think every parent, every student, every grandparent needs to take a look at. And my special guest is with me here from St. Peter's University Hospital. She is the chief of the Adolescent Medicine Department at the Children's Hospital at St. Peter's University Hospital. And it's Dr. Susan Brill who's giving us some time this morning. Dr. Brill, good morning. Welcome to WCTC. How are you?
Hi, good morning. I'm fine, thank you.
Kudos on a fantastic op-ed piece that I just had a chance to take a read through. Excellent, very well said, everything in there. And I guess it was a request that came to you that sort of was the start of this article that you wanted to put down and write in and get it published and kind of get the word out there. Talk about this request that was made of you that sort of got you thinking on this whole topic here.
Sure. So I am the school health physician for a local school district, and as part of my job, I have to write standing orders so that there's medicine in the nurse's office should children need Tylenol or Advil or asthma medicine or allergy medicine. And this spring, right before school ended, the middle school nurse asked me to write a prescription for naloxone, which is an opiate blocker, which is used for an emergency rescue medicine if somebody is overdosing. And I had to look it up, how to write, the proper dose and how to write it effectively. And I just kept shaking my head, and I couldn't believe that this was in a middle school that I was being asked to do this. And I realized that something's really changed in our public school system if there's a recognition that this is necessary. When I did a little reading about it, it really came from the state that as part of the opioid treatment and the push towards better recognition of opioid overdose, this really came as a mandate from the state that school nurses are being trained to administer this in case of emergencies.
Yeah, I'm sure it was for you. It's, the typical things that you would have in any school sort of nurse's office. There's, Band-Aids and, little things for sore throats. And if somebody gets a scraped knee playing kickball or something, and then you come across this opioid antidote, and it's like, wait a minute, we gotta take a look at what's going on here. And you're absolutely right. I've heard from so many people with this naloxone and this antidote, with so many police and law enforcement are carrying this, and they're going through. They'll get two antidotes. They'll get 2 doses at the beginning of their shift. And so many times, Dr. Brill, they need to go back to the police headquarters and stock up and load up again, because they're going through their nightly allotment very quickly. And this is not uncommon, and it's happening literally right in our backyards. And I think it's finally time that it gets the attention that it deserves. And you went so far as to even, I guess, sort of thank the media for finally giving this some attention. And this is something we've been talking about here for a long time. And I think the time has come to stop sweeping this under the rug, and let's talk about it. Sometimes you got to get things in people's faces and get it right under their nose to get them to do something about it. And I think your article is going to go a long way in doing that.
I really hope so. I mean, I think it's amazing, again, that the media is paying more attention to it, because parents have to be more cognizant of it, schools, teachers. Remember that there's a lot of people that are on school grounds. It isn't just the kids. This could be teachers. This could be staff. This could be anybody walking into the building, and the nurse at least has access to something that could be life-saving, just like the police do now. But the fact that we even have to think about it in a school setting, I think, is really what's been a major change in the last number of years.
Yeah.
Everybody, almost every patient that I see, particularly in our Central Jersey area, seems to know someone, a relative, a family member, a friend of a friend who's died of an overdose. It's been dramatic increase in the last number of years that I've seen.
I'm sure. And when I drive all over Jersey, Doctor, and I see these blue and white signs that are everywhere that say drug-free school zone, I look at that and I say, you know what? It's kind of half true. Maybe there's no traditional pushers who are in this drug-free zone, but there's abuse and there's drug use that is going on. One of my colleagues at HLN, Dr. Drew Pinsky, I'm sure you've seen him on TV, Dr. Drew.
Yes.
He was commenting about just how prevalent this epidemic is, and he said something last week that my jaw just about hit the floor. He says, right now, you are within 50 yards of someone who is high on some sort of substance. And I started looking around myself, and I'm like, really? 50 yards in one direction, someone is using or taking something? This has gotten so far out of control, Dr. Brill. I don't know what it's going to take to rein this in if we'll ever see it in our lifetimes. I don't want to give up on society just yet, but this is a monumental job in front of us.
I agree, and I think if you look at national data, it's very interesting. They survey kids on a yearly basis. It's called Monitoring the Future survey. You can Google it and see the results. And what's very interesting is you could see, a very dramatic rise, particularly in prescription drug abuse, in the mid to late 2000s. That's actually gone down in the last number of years. So I think teenagers are getting the word about that, but those kids where that was really peaking, those are now the young adults that are unfortunately getting into heroin and street drugs. And I think that we're seeing that cohort, and that's really what's getting everybody's attention now. Is many of these are kids that tried things in the high school years and now unfortunately have a more serious drug problem. Yeah.
Our guest this morning is Dr. Susan Brill. She's the chief of adolescent medicine department at the Children's Hospital at St. Peter's University Hospital. She has an op-ed piece in this morning's Star Ledger, if you had a chance to check it out, just about what we can do if there's anything about this horrific drug epidemic that is just literally crumbling our state and our young people, and it's really just a horrible thing to see. You mentioned in the article, too, about a cultural change around drug use. I don't know at what point, as young kids, was drug use perceived as being something cool, as that only the cool people did? I don't know when that whole thing sort of started as, you look at something that's it's admirable as someone who is involved in using illegal drugs and whatnot. And maybe a cultural change and this constant, glorification of drug use, I think, is a problem. We see it in movies. We see it in TV. I'm going to take a shot at my own industry here, and we hear it on rock radio where the lyrics glorify drug use and violence against women, which I think has no place whatsoever. But it's going to take a cultural change, and it's going to have to get to that point, Dr. Brill, I guess, before we start to see some real changes in momentum here. Would you agree with that?
I do, and I think that, what I really tried to emphasize was the concept of prevention. Finding the individuals who are using other substances and it's starting to become problematic, and not necessarily pushing that away and say, oh, it's only marijuana, oh, they're only drinking. Because many times that behavior is the predecessor of more serious drug use as the condition of substance abuse progresses. So my goal as an adolescent medicine specialist is to screen more kids. And I think that anyone who really comes in contact with kids in a regular way should be having their eyes and ears open, looking for, that kid who's glassy-eyed in school, and not just, giving them a detention, but actually really considering making a referral to get help before it becomes a bigger problem. And the other thing that I think I tried to highlight was, the sense of the culture of drug use being I think it's become very pervasive, certainly in the last 10 to 20 years that I've been in practice. And that we have to change that culture to say, okay, that's a red line. I can't even consider trying that drug. And I'm not sure that kids are getting enough education about opiates in particular to be able to say that's that line that I can't do that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it, Dr. Brill, has to do, you've got to keep these lines of communications open between parents and children. It really is. I've had so many people on this program come on and just, tell parents, you don't be afraid that you're going to insult your kid because you're checking up on them a lot, or you're wondering who they're hanging out with and who their friends are and what their online and social media activity is and where they're spending their free time and where the crowd they're sort of, running with. that parent, the parent is that last line of defense, I think, Dr. Brill, and that's where good habits and bad habits are formed in those young formative years. Fortunately, I came from a very good family in Morris County, New Jersey, that kept me on the straight and narrow, and I'm grateful every day because there's a lot of people that just did not go in the same direction that I went in. I'm very lucky. But I think the role of parents and grandparents is more critical than ever before. And having that dialogue and having those talks and saying those conversations, I think, are more important than we've ever seen before.
Absolutely. And, you said parents are the last line of defense. I would actually say they're the first line of defense.
You're right.
That's really where I think it should start in the home, in terms of attitudes towards drugs and alcohol. Certainly parents abstaining from using drugs themselves, as well as transmitting, the information that this is not okay. This is something that we're not going to accept in our home. And that education starts pretty young, not necessarily by the time they get into high school, but even in the elementary school years.
Yeah, so I guess if you're a parent and you're listening to this today, it's like, okay, just relax. There's an antidote that's in the school nurse's office. We got a drug antidote if there's a problem, but you know what? There is a problem, and it's time that it was addressed, that's for sure. Dr. Brill, thank you for your time this morning. This was a great article that you had written, and thank you for your time this morning, and terrific opinions and thoughts from you. So thank you so much, all right?
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. All right, Dr. Susan Brill, my guest